Today's guest on the Paw Print Animal Rescue podcast is Marie Macaspac, founder of AnimalRescueMarketing.com, as well as Director of Marketing, Design, and Social Media for Muttville Senior Dog Rescue in San Francisco.
My name is Marie Macaspac. If I could be any animal, I would love to be a sloth. I just want to spend my days hanging out on a tree, under the sun, chewing on yummy leaves, watching people go by.
And drinking matcha.
Drinking Costa Rica coffee and matcha.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 17. I'm Harold Rhee.
I'm Nancy Rhee.
Marie Macaspac's journey starts when she leaves a corporate marketing job to start her own venture, loses a very dear friend, then later joins Muttville Senior Dog Rescue in San Francisco, California. Today you'll learn from Marie lessons in marketing, as well as what it takes to turn your animal rescue from good to great. If you're in Southern California and would like to see Marie present on social media strategies, she'll be speaking at the Animal Care Conference in Long Beach, California from March 6th to 8th.
Our show notes can be found at thisispawprint.com/17. That's the number 17.
I have been basically surrounded by animals my entire life. Most of my career after I graduated from college was as a graphic designer and marketing in the corporate world. And luckily, I was able to apply that to something I'm very passionate about, which is animal rescue. I honestly started like anyone else. I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to foster dogs. The opportunity was there, and I finally had the time to do it. When you have a marketing mind and you see opportunities and you can help, and I didn't see anyone else doing that for this particular rescue that I started to really become very passionate about, which is Muttville Senior Dog Rescue, who rescues senior dogs. I wanted to see how I could use my marketing background and help them to bring awareness, hold fundraising events. And I'm so thankful. The board of directors and the founder, Sherri Franklin, were very open to that, and they understood the benefits of marketing. They just needed someone who was willing to take charge and do it. So it was a great thrill for me to be able to just take the ball and run with it. And honestly, within the first 2 months, I had an amazing opportunity. There's a band many people know of called Gogo Bordello. The drummer anonymously donated $10,000 and were coming to town. And luckily there are people on Muttville side who knew of them, and they're willing to do a benefit concert, and they needed someone to help market that. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is like a dream come true. That's actually the start of my fundraising and marketing role for Muttville Senior Dog Rescue back in 2008. When something like that falls in your lap and you know what to do, because I've marketed many, many, many events,
Right.
I knew what to do with this event. I was the person who was there at the time with Muttville. I just felt blessed that
Awesome.
all the worlds just kind of came together. And I didn't even look at it as fundraising for a nonprofit. I just looked at it as, this is what I know. I know how to do this.
Right.
This opportunity has landed in their lap, and I'm going to make sure that it's super successful. And so I volunteered to do that. But from there, 5 years later, honestly, I was volunteered for many years. People started to notice, and then I realized that, I could do this for many organizations. I'm very blessed that the board of directors and Sherri were very kind to let everyone know, you got to talk to Marie. She knows what she's doing, and she can help you. You need someone like me to be able to raise more money, and then eventually when you can raise money, you can hire for those type of services and raise more money.
Exactly.
And grow and grow and grow. But
Exactly.
That's probably the number one thing that a lot of nonprofits are challenged with, because they know how to save animals, and they know how to, a lot of them know how to recruit volunteers. But the fundraising, it really is a profession. A lot of people find it very difficult to ask for donations and find clever ways to raise money. And I think all of that falls under marketing, promotions, events, even clever ways to, how do you ask people to pay for adoption fees? Well, there's clever ways to even do that. And I think that's where it's fun for me, because it's coming up with new ways in the nonprofit world to sell, right? To help sell, which is adopting out animals. You can be as popular and as big as a Target or an Apple, and just think of ways to apply. What tactics do they use to sell their products? Well, think about how fun it would be to use some of those clever ways to get your animals adopted or get them noticed. And that's exactly why I find it exciting and thrilling to start applying what I know to help get animals adopted and to help raise money for nonprofits. Of your group of volunteers, just like myself, I came to you because I was interested in fostering. How can I help an animal organization? That person may not have thought about using their profession or other skills that they have. And so what I show them is, now that you have this pool of volunteers, the other areas that you may not be publicly announcing you could use help in, start looking at their volunteer applications or start putting the word out there. You may have a volunteer in your group who works for Facebook and could give you Facebook credits, or someone who all this time has been a designer for 20 years. They just didn't realize that that's something they could do as a volunteer. And that's, to me, sometimes the most eye-opening thing I could educate organizations, something that's simple. I have lots of contractors.
Sure.
And depending on what they specialize in, whether it's they can build websites in WordPress, or they're writers, or they're designers, depending on what projects come about, they come on board. And, depending on their backgrounds too, they have volunteered their services on behalf of organizations that we work with too, because they're the same background as me. They're very passionate about animals and volunteering, which is how we all met each other. And it's interesting because a lot of it is just awareness, like putting ideas in people's minds that they just didn't realize it could be right in front of them. I find that to be probably one of the most rewarding things, just being able to educate people. Just like speaking at events, I'm going to say things that I probably do every day, and I see the look on people's faces when a light bulb goes off in their mind. And I realize I'm speaking to maybe 50 people here who are now going to take that information to their organization and turn on light bulbs in other people's minds. And it doesn't cost money. It just needs somebody who happens to have that skill or profession in their background. And you can do a chain effect of helping people just by speaking or just by sharing ideas.
Let's switch to Muttville, because you have a passion about Muttville. You have a history with Muttville. You're going to explain a little bit about what Muttville's mission is. But Muttville, just like so many other organizations, started maybe with humble backgrounds, didn't really have a lot of resources, but over the past few years has just exploded in some ways, right?
It honestly can be compared to when anyone starts a business and you start with an idea. Even a regular business, you need investors, or you need some capital to start with.
That's right.
Well, those are the terms for business. Just remember that you can translate that also for nonprofits. In Muttville's case, the founder, Sherri Franklin, started it out of her home.
And how many years ago was this?
This is 2007.
Okay, so about 8.5 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
about 8.5 years ago.
Yeah.
We're probably coming close to 9 years now. She just put the word out there, and she told her friends, and she had her friends tell her friends, and it started with a group of volunteers fostering and taking care of dogs that she would rescue who would live in her home. So this is how I found her as well. I wanted to volunteer and be a foster. And by continually putting our name out there, which is in essence marketing, and putting a visual out there that catches people's attention, which is a logo and a really cool tagline, you will get more people noticing you and remembering your name. And this is really the foundation of building what we call building a brand. So that's a marketing term. But the idea, if you just in simple terms, is you need people to remember your name and remember what you do. So we really honestly just put our face out there as often as we can. Our icon is a dog with a cane, which hopefully is obvious that we rescue senior dogs. We have a name that we put big and bold, and we put posters everywhere, and we put banners everywhere, and we put ourselves in every popular street corner for adoption events. And we made our name big and bold and unforgettable. And even when you're tiny, anyone can do that, right? Anyone can start and make your name well known, even in a town like San Francisco. And that's exactly what we did. We would have adoption events every Sunday on the corner of 18th and Castro.
That's right.
You can't get bigger traffic than that. We put a big poster with that big icon of the dog with the cane and our name in big bold letters, Muttville Senior Dog Rescue. And we called newspapers. We called the local news because you need to bring attention yourself. If you're not making a big deal about your name, other people won't. So you got to make a big deal about yourself if you want other people to make a big deal about you.
Right.
And that's marketing too. That's all the foundations of marketing.
Yeah.
And you can do that with two people if you want. One person calling the newspapers and one person like myself who can create posters and flyers and design. And you have a whole crew of people who know how to take care of the dogs. And we do have little pep talks. We do talk about what to say when people come to adopt dogs or meet dogs. And we say, these are the things you want to make sure you say to people when you meet them. And it's not easy to convince people at the time, I should say, back in 2007, why they should adopt a senior dog. Just think about, even probably in other parts of the country, the idea of adopting a senior dog is still like, really?
Right.
People still want a puppy. People still want a younger dog. People
So
still
true.
think things about senior dogs.
Are there enough dogs to actually meet the demand that Muttville's created?
I love that you asked that question because it just makes it that much more awesome for us that people start to call us because they know, meaning there are people who are looking for senior dogs and they know to call us. But also there are shelters out there who know to call us because we're the only ones who are going to take those senior dogs. So the truth is there are a lot of senior dogs out there.
So there's plenty.
And the win-win is our name is big enough now that shelter, sometimes, unfortunately, but all the way back in Virginia or New York, they know our name and they know to call us. It would be great if there were more organizations who would come out of the woodwork and decide to focus on senior dogs too, because I think you change the way people think of older dogs, and that's a chain reaction across the nation. And that's one of our missions. Yes, it's adoption and it's rescue, but we want to change and educate people's minds about older dogs. And that's
right.
I think we've done a great job. And, sometimes when you do have a niche and you do have a greater challenge, you try harder and your creativity, you really work it because
Right.
you have something very specific that is your challenge. And I think that's also what makes it fun for people in my background and who have marketing and creative know-how.
That's right.
And
You want a challenge.
you want a challenge.
Right.
We really met that challenge. And I'm so pleased. I hear the way people talk about senior dogs, and if even just in San Francisco, it has changed. If even for that alone, that the way people talk about older pets. I mean, I even see car commercials and Petco doing commercials that are focusing on senior dogs.
No kidding.
I would love to feel like that had something
There you
to
go.
do with us.
Yeah. Who created the Muttville logo? Who created the dog with a walking cane?
The logo existed when I already signed up to volunteer. What needed to be done was it needed to become the face of the organization. I think Sherri had the know-how and the knowledge to know that was important, to have a really good branding that she could put on shirts and posters. But one thing that marketing and what we call branding, where it's the foundation of a lot of work we do, is you need to put it in lots of places and you need to prominently display it so that people start to recognize it.
Right.
And I was so pleased that Sherri did have the know-how to see and come up with a concept for a logo that she knew would work. So I had a really great logo to put in front of people that I already knew people would grab onto. It would
Right.
catch people's eyes.
Gotcha.
And it just needed to be put in front of people. I think where the part that I played was knowing how to use that brand and make it popular, well-known, and recognized.
That's
Even
great.
in a town as big as San Francisco, I think that you can make any brand stand out. You just have to really toot your horn.
It's funny because social media, while it's made marketing easier, it's still difficult to master, right? I think.
True.
Right.
And it's just one piece of the whole pie. And
Exactly.
and the other piece of the pie It's traditional marketing, but they are the areas that people still find them to be, maybe they are foreign or they are left up to professionals.
Talk a little bit about animals in your life that have really made a big impact on you.
Actually, I would like to start with why my mom is a huge part of me being who I am today, because she was probably my first animal rescue person I ever knew.
That's right.
She never turned away an animal that needed us, whether we found them on the street or it was time to bring a new one to our family. We only went to shelters.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up actually in Southern California. Funny enough, my mom just became known in the neighborhood that we really did find animals left at our doorstep. And my mom would never turn away an animal. And I don't know if there were true animal rescues back when I was young, but that idea that every animal could be cared for, brought back to health, and become someone's pet. I mean, that is in essence animal rescue. And, back in the day, there were only shelters. I always thought of animals coming from shelters or not puppies. My parents never adopted puppies. We always had scraggly adult dogs. I didn't know that I could do anything with that as a profession, but it was always in my life. So I always had pets my whole life. And my soulmate dog, her name was Jasmine, and she was a German Shepherd. But, I was finally on my own and had moved to San Francisco. And honestly, I didn't decide I was going to go get a pet and looked for her. Of course, I was like my first day, my first corporate job. And I'm thinking this is what I'm going to focus on. And here comes one of my new coworkers saying that she saw a German Shepherd get hit by a car and she brought to the local vet, but now she's at the shelter and she's a stray. And you put a story like that in front of me, I'm not gonna forget it. New coworker, I don't even know her name, and I had to go find out more. I was at that job for 11 years, and my old coworker Denise, we always had that story for the entire years we were there, because I had Jasmine all the years that I had that job. And the irony with that is after I left that corporate job, which I worked way too many hours, my first year in having my own business was probably the first year that Jasmine and I spent every day together. And that ended up being her last year of life. She was at that point 15 years old. I just think the universe really does put all these things together for you. And when Jasmine passed away, and she passed away as a senior, she was already 15 years old, I had a void in my life, and I was looking to help. I needed animals in my life. And then I see a senior dog rescue where I could put everything that I ever learned, all the things I learned about taking care of Jasmine, to help a dog who's in the same situation. And I just knew that was all meant to be. And from there on, it's been senior dogs
Right.
my whole life. Senior dogs have their own special care.
Right.
Special food, diapers.
There you go.
Belly bands.
In about 50 years, that'll be you and me, right? So
That's right.
you can take this enthusiasm that you had, or this great relationship that you had with Jasmine, and in a strange way, your work is in some part dedicated to her, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I know that her spirit was in my loft, with every one of those foster dogs that came into my house. I know that she was helping me take care of them. And it's interesting. She's my soulmate dog, and I never thought that losing her would launch me into this whole new life. And I think about her every day, and I think about how she really was the reason why I went the route that I did. And to see the evolution of people's impression and their first thought of senior dogs, not only do they want a senior dog, they already know they want a senior dog, and I don't have to explain to them why. They want a Muttville dog because they also hear how great a dog who comes from Muttville is like. And that really warms my heart, because when you start with the uphill battle and you see how you want people to believe in what you believe in, it slowly but surely turns into that, and people come to you and are saying the very thing that you used to say to them, and they're saying it to other people. And now we have commercials, which That in itself blows me away. And, we don't pay. I want people to know we don't pay for those commercials. Again, that's from a donation, and that's from having marketing people asking for you and putting your name out there. It's amazing when people come to us because they've heard of us. They've heard about our work. They saw the commercial. Now I'm ready for the next challenge. It's Muttville. It's other rescues who are still beginning, and they need to build their name, and they need people to know about their causes. That excites me. And I still love to work with smaller rescues and new rescues who are starting from scratch and need all the basics of marketing. I love that.
If I'm an animal rescue organization, why do I need to work with the Marie Macaspacs of the world?
So a lot of rescues, the founders and the people who help you start an organization mostly have backgrounds and they love animals and know how to care for animals. And of course, that's how you have to start there.
That's right. You have a passion.
You have a passion. But you have to grow. If you want to save more animals and you actually want to have space and you want to have the money to pay for vet bills, pay for anything, right? You need a way to raise money. And that's the second challenge that a lot of rescues face. And they're either stuck on that level and they don't grow, and they're always challenged with more money in order to rescue more animals or to pay for food or everything that comes with money. And if I really break it down to why organizations need marketing, is fundraising is essential. Even though a lot of rescues don't start realizing they need that, eventually you will have too many animals or more that you want to rescue and you don't have the funds to save them. And you need funds. Marketing is what you need in order to start building of being able to have a fundraising effort. And so oftentimes they're not going to come to me asking for marketing. What they realize is they need to start raising money, whether it's an event or they need donors or they need a better way to present a donation page on their website. So all of these are marketing. They are all traditional marketing. And that's oftentimes how people first approach me.
That's right.
And that is great because that is the door opening for me to be able to educate them on how marketing as a whole. This is a launching pad on the conversation about how marketing as a whole will help them.
What are the biggest mistakes you think that young organizations tend to make?
Great question. I think that there are people right in front of them, volunteers, adopters, even just people curious. They only focus on the conversation of adoption. And that person could be writing their will tomorrow. That person could be ready to become a monthly donor. But if you don't present that topic to them, they don't even realize that they could help you in that way. One, they don't think of it, but two, a lot of people are afraid to ask. It's an uncomfortable conversation. And there are comfortable ways to do it, but I think a lot of people need someone like myself to help find ways to bring that topic up. But that, to me, I find is like that person standing in front of you who came to you because they wanted to adopt. They could help in more than one way. And you could be letting go of someone who could have written a check for $1,000 as a donation to you right now if you knew that was something that you could present all the time.
Absolutely.
Adoption events, doesn't matter.
So let's switch then to Muttville. We've already talked a little bit about what they do. When you think about the leadership you provide or Sherri Franklin provides, how does Muttville do it well, whereas other organizations tend to not figure or haven't figured it out yet?
Harold, another great question. And I will be honest, there are organizations that I wanted to help, but you could have the service or the talent or the skill in front of you, and if you don't allow that person to do what they do for you, it still is not going to be successful. And I think the reason why I worked so well with Muttville, and I mentioned this a few times, Sherri empowered me. She believed in me. She said, run with it. And the board of directors understood the value of marketing. Now, there are rescues that I approached because I really liked their cause and I liked their mission. And I could give the exact same reasons that I've said to Sherri, that person could be the obstacle as to why it doesn't actually work.
Can you be more specific, though? In other words, what does Sherri say to you? What does Sherri do for you? What kind of culture does she create that you feel like, wow, I wanna help?
Absolutely. So I can put any marketing idea in front of her. So let's start from day one. There's an event coming up. I know what it takes to make that event successful. The same opportunity, I'm sure, has been presented to other organizations who also didn't have resources yet. And one of the things that sometimes is an obstacle is whoever's in charge, or if it's the founder or an executive director, is still a little bit concerned or weary of giving power to other people. They still want to be, they have to evaluate everything. They have to manage everything.
Ego, or
there's a term that is kind of familiar amongst animal rescues. It has to do with founders not being able to let go. You're the founder, true, and you're used to running everything.
That's
but
right.
Running everything was only 5 things: maybe transporting, saving the animals, caring for them in your home. Well, now to successfully run an organization, maybe it's 20 things, and the other 15 are you have no background in. They're not able to let go enough to let other people take ownership in a piece of the way things run.
So in a lot of organizations, a founder can't share that vision, or a lot of ideas tend to just sort of die on the vine, right?
They do. You can offer, even as a volunteer. They think they needed to run it by 20 people, and then those 20 people pick it apart, and then they question why this, why that,
and so
then
what does Sherri?
happens.
So what does Sherri do that's different?
There is no step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sherri says, Marie, run with it, do it, just do it. And I say, well, here, in the beginning too, like, well, let me present to you. She's like, you know what, Marie, do it. I know you have your heart in it, and I know that your intent is to make Muttville grow. Just do it. That's the greatest thing I think that she could have done for me in my career, and for Muttville. She empowered me, and I use that word with Sherri all the time because I watch her in action, even 10 years later now. You know, when you let a volunteer feel like they have a piece of ownership in the work that they've contributed, even if it's one foster dog that they came to them scared and shivering, and after fostering them for a month, they want to say, this dog is now smiling and licking people's faces because I took them home. Sherri is great at letting everybody feel that they are all founders of Muttville. We all feel like we are part of the Muttville family. She does not speak as it's my organization, this is mine, which I hate to say it, I hear a lot of people who are either a director or founder still want to remind people that they're the founder, or that that they have a higher place. And if anything, I watch even today, Sherri allowing that person to feel the pride and ownership of the work that they did, and that person wants to do it again and again and again. They transform the dog. Yeah, Sherri has seen thousands of dogs transformed now. When it's that person's first time, Sherri's reaction is as if it's her first time. And when you let somebody feel the reward that they individually contributed, and you let everybody feel that way, they're going to give more and more and more because they have their own personal pride and sense in accomplishment. And that's the same. It's true of people who work in marketing, or your donors, or your fundraisers.
If a corporation were to approach you and say, Marie, we love your work, we want you to come back, we're going to give you more money, but instead of animal rescue, you're going to focus on dishwashing detergent, what would you say to them?
I decided a long time ago that there's no for me. I don't value that anymore. I was there. I mean, I was in a place where it all seemed what you graduate from college, it's what you want. And when you have that success in front of you, and you still feel like you want more, or something's missing, you realize that it's not about how much money you make. So I have to tell you, I had never been happier working my butt off, but having like 6 snoring dogs around my feet who are all happy and warm and cozy.
Is that how many dogs you have right now? 6?
You know what? When I was fostering a lot, because there weren't as many fosters.
Sure. You were doing the work.
Yeah. When it was really my house and Sherri's house, because I luckily lived somewhat near Sherri, I was the quote overflow.
Right.
Sometimes transporters coming with 6 dogs, and Sherri's house already has 20, and I only have 4.
Right.
So here comes 6 more.
Wow.
There's nothing more valuable, I think, than feeling rewarded personally. And it's not about how much money you make. It's the thing that you contribute to the world. And I realized what I was contributing to the world made my heart really felt like this is what I was meant to be doing.
How do people find you? Whether it's website, social media, all that.
So you can find my website, animalrescuemarketing.com. You can also just look at my name, Marie Macaspac, because I think I come up with marketing and animal rescue these days. And luckily, my name is synonymous, which makes me really happy.
That's great.
And I'm still marketing director for Muttvilles. So you can also find me, go to Muttvilles' Facebook page or muttville.org. I run the show behind all of their online media.
That's great. 2016, what does it look like for you?
That's a good question, because it's actually a year where I feel like it's a big evolution for me. Muttville has grown to a point where, it's really big that I want to help rescues who still need to launch their marketing. So yeah, my life has been around a lot of dogs, and I'm hoping that there's other species involved in the future. I'm hoping to be involved with some kitty rescues. In fact, Tony's Kitty Rescue is one organization that I've been working with that I hope will evolve, and we're going to take a big leap for them this coming year, and hopefully we'll build their name and help them get some fundraising going on. One of my dreams is actually to travel and start offering my animal rescue efforts in other countries. And one of the countries I really love is Costa Rica, which I think I mentioned wanting to be a sloth. And I've connected with a few rescues there, and I would love to be able to continue and help other species and be around more animals.
Well, as we wrap up, anything else you'd like to share with the animal rescue community? You've already shown how it is possible to turn your animal rescue organization into a powerhouse. You've experienced it yourself. Anything else?
Well, I just want to say, Harold, I am so happy that you have started a podcast about this, because it is, again, a reflection of how people are starting to become more aware of the importance of marketing and how it goes hand in hand with even nonprofit work. And I think that the more people like yourself and like myself talk about it and put it out there on the internet so it's available to people, there are rescues and nonprofits starting every single day. And I know that having these resources available to them early on, they can launch with great marketing background from the get-go. Thanks to podcasts like this and websites and us talking about what we do and just reaching more people.
Yeah.
So thank you for starting a podcast on this topic.
Well, I appreciate that, Marie. But it reminds me and it inspires me, because a couple things I'll share is that the first time I ever visited Muttville, I think my wife Nancy already knew about Muttville and was already volunteering a little bit here and there. And the first time I ever went to visit Muttville, which is just down the street from San Francisco SPCA, which by itself is a huge organization. Muttville, it's just folks hanging out, having a great time on that little space of sidewalk. You got maybe 5, 6, 7 dogs. You have a bunch of people just kind of hanging out under the tent, just like you said with the logo and all that. It just gives you a warm feeling when you hang out with Muttville folks. I mean, it may not be like that all the time, but Sherri Franklin is a busy person. You're a busy person, but she takes the time to say hi. We're really happy to have been able to interview you because you're part of the reason why Muttville has been so successful. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And guess what? Muttville is like that all the time. There are
It
always
is a
people
party.
hanging out.
Woohoo! It's a party all the time, 24/7.
All the time.
We want to say thank you to Marie Macaspac for sharing her story and for being such a wonderful part of Muttville Senior Dog Rescue. Reminder that if you're in Southern California and would like to see Marie present on social media strategies, she'll be at the Animal Care Conference from March 6th through 8th in Long Beach, California. If you want to learn more about Marie or Muttville or animalrescuemarketing.com, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/17. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or even Periscope. Look for This Is Paw Print, all one word. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, even Podcast Addict on Android phones. We want to say thank you to all of you, our listeners out there, for sharing your story. We want to make a special shout out to our listeners in Markham, Ontario, Tallahassee, Florida, as well as Zanesville, Ohio. You spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.
Woohoo!